WV Uncommon Place. This podcast is a variety podcast that houses numerous series to cover mental health, empowerment, podcast framework, and various intimate theories to get to know the hosts. Along with occasional movies reviews and dives in pop culture with our event podcast episodes. The Uncommon Place digs into bringing guests on that stories don't fit the mold and are very different. WV stands for the great state of West Virginia, and every quarter we cover something in West Virginia. Stacey and myself, JR, are your hosts, so please come along for this venture to our Uncommon Place.
Welcome to West Virginia Uncommon Place. I am JR, and it's been a long time since we've done a live stream. It's been a long time since I've actually been able to do the interview style podcasts that have made this show famous. I went on a long period of time where I was just talking about things that interest me, the rise and fall of television shows. And I have a special guest here who has this amazing book that you all can see right here. Her name is Sandy Stream, and this book right here is called The Courage Circle. So the nostalgia question that we always ask, and the guest is already here with me, and her name is Sandy Stream. The nostalgia question is, who is Sandy Stream? So Sandy, please tell us who you are and meet and greet people across YouTube and let them know who you are.
That's the ultimate question, right? For everyone to know, who am I? So if you want me to go by typical things that people talk about, I would say I'm a lawyer by profession, or I'm a mom of 2 kids, or I'm this or that. But frankly, I'm just, but I'm a human being. And so that's actually one of the first things we do in the Courage Circles. We kind of drop our titles and this kind of stuff. So who am I? I don't know. I'm a heart, I'm a spirit, I'm a person, I'm a human, whatever word works for you. But I think you know what I mean by that.
Yes, I do. So let's dig into it, and we're going to get towards these hard-hitting questions. So I'll start it off right here like this. What inspired you to shift from teaching law to focusing on facilitating workshops to promote inner peace and strength?
Suffering, basically. So during COVID, I went through I've had a hard life as many other people. I mean, everybody goes through a million things, and I really thought I had already gone through many challenges. COVID was actually even more challenging for whatever number of reasons. Everyone has their story about it. And I found myself, like, how do I live? Like, how do I function in this world? What do I do? How do I be okay given, what's going on around me, inside me, everything? And so I decided to start to just sit there kind of. I drew a circle on my wall. I don't really know why I did that. I painted it. And then I just started sitting there a lot. And I was doing research, if you want to call it research, meaning watching a lot of videos, reading, etc., and research inside to see what's going on in there. And whenever I put my pieces of my puzzle together so that I basically feel well. And then I decided to publish the book of my pieces of my puzzle. It doesn't mean they're the same for everyone else, but certainly there must be a lot of similarities because we're all human beings. And once I published the book, I just felt very, very strongly compelled that I really need to talk about these topics with other people. And so I started doing circles at my local yoga studio, and we basically sit there, a bunch of adults of various ages, races, genders, professions, everything. There's no rule about that. We sit and we discuss what I consider to be the most important topics that I never really learned, whether I did many degrees in university and my school, my whatever I did, the home or workplace, I just never really understood these topics well. And I find them to be the most important topics. And so now I kind of sit around with people and discuss them and facilitate groups to discuss them.
Okay, and I like that answer. Now, your book emphasizes finding peace with oneself while taking action. How do you encourage readers to strike this balance? Because the thing is like with some people, they look at a cup and it's half full, half empty, but they don't have an initial balance to, do I need to drink more or do I not drink? They just pause and they leave themselves in an indiscretion type deal, and they're like, I'm not going to do anything, and they just halt. So how do you help them, encourage them to take, get a balance?
Well, like I said, it's so many pieces of the puzzle, and that's what every single week we have a new topic. So, we have a topic about demonizing your own emotions. We have a topic about setting boundaries. Topic one's about what do I need? We have like so many different topics, but I guess ultimately it's just getting to know yourself in a deeper way, and then starting to trust yourself, and also for me, anyways, there was having to challenge, not challenge because I was against anything, but because they weren't true. Like a lot of the messages we get from our world around us are just not true. And so, in spending a lot of time with meditation and within myself, whatever, I was really trying to see like what's true here. And one of the most important truths, at least that I found, was to find goodness in your own heart. That's might sound like woo-woo or emotional, but it's very, very important as a question of fundamental truth to see like, am I actually good? And we find that. I think many people can find that if they look there and have compassion for themselves and see that whatever they've done, mistakes or not, or whatever, they can understand why and how they might have done everything. And so, when you find this goodness and love for yourself in a very, very deep way, and I don't mean it superficially like a lot of people talk about it, but actually really, really care about yourself and understand yourself in that way, then you don't necessarily need to get that from other people. So I wouldn't need you, for example, nothing against you, JR, but I don't need you to approve of me right now or to like me or to love me, right? Because I already feel it. And so a lot of our behaviors that we might do in our world are for the purpose of getting, I need this person to like, this one will think I'm good. This one will think I'm that, we're doing it for those reasons, where if we really feel this deeper goodness inside of us, we actually don't need to do anything, right? We can just sit on the floor and do nothing and feel I'm fine. Like I don't need to do anything. But it doesn't mean we won't do anything. We might end up being very active in the world, doing all kinds of things, but it won't be to get those points or some kind of weird point system that we're under. Like if you get this degree, you get this many points, you're tall, you get this many points, you do this, you get points. I mean, it's all nonsense. There's no point system. It's like imaginary. I don't even know who created that point system.
And I get you on that. So like no superlative, no reward, just the reassurance of yourself. That's all you need. You don't need Tom, Dick, Harry, Mary, and Jane. So let me do this real quick for the audience. Because with this book, you gain, you make your own personal experiences with this book. And that's one thing I want to put it up here one more time for my shameless plug. This is something that I will tell you, everybody, we'll get Sandy real quick to do a shameless plug real fast. Can you tell them where they can get this book?
On Amazon. And on the other main Barnes and Noble and all the other ones. But thank you for doing that, JR, because I really feel, very, very passionate about what I'm doing because of, all the war and all the misery we see. For me, each person that finds their own sense of peace internally, whether through, some things I mentioned in my book or other people's books or anything else, this is really the way that I think we're going to have some peace in our world. So.
Okay. And for the audience, so that they can get a little bit more personable with you, can you share a pivotal personal experience that influenced your beliefs and your inner strength and peace? Because I'll just throw a little filler in there. Like with me, when I was reading this, I told you in our little quick pre-call, which was actually part of the behind the scenes on this, I had a death in my family that was really intense. I wasn't necessarily close to my aunt, but I was close to my cousin. And we have strong convictions and we follow a lot of the same beliefs. Not needing each other's approval, like you said, but we kind of, our morale and stuff is built around our beliefs, and that's our strength, and that's what keeps the peace for us. So for us, we were a little downtrodden, and we just had to take time and refocus and, get back into who we are. And I'm JR, who I am now. But 3 days ago, I wasn't the JR that I normally am, the upbeat, out of the way person. So I had to take that inner strength and be like, hey, I've got to be here for a lot more people than just myself. I've got to take the selfish reasons away from why I am here and just do this for my cousin, for my cousins to make sure that they get through everything they need to. And I got my inner peace and inner strength like this. I sat there, I played a song, and I don't understand why it was just a simple song that worked for me. It's a song by the Canton Spirituals called I'm Dependent on You. and it put me in my mode and means, and that's how I got the inner strength and the peace. So please tell us about a personal experience with you and how we can get influenced into getting our inner strength and our peace through this amazing book and through you.
Thanks for sharing that story, JR. Like what I'm hearing from your story is basically, you're able to get out, like first, hopefully you process your emotions. We don't just deny them or pretend I don't care, I don't feel anything, but you probably felt your feelings at least to a great extent. And then maybe at some point, it sounds like you're able to, just see the bigger picture, I guess, that you're included in, and see that you have a reason to take care of yourself, I guess, because I suppose, I don't know you, JR, but you obviously seem to have a bit of a mission in the world. And so it's bigger than you, kind of, right? So that motivates you to take care of yourself and do what you need to do, because it's like this work, I guess, that you have to do. So I can totally relate with that, So part of the reasons I also take care of myself is because I feel like there's things I must do, given where I'm at. So,
and can I tie something into your book if you don't mind me doing this little excerpt? What helped me through this situation was on page 140.
Yeah.
Suffering, surrendering, and softening. If you don't mind, I'm just going to read a quick excerpt out of here. It says, sometimes it takes deep suffering or a dark moment for us to realize that we cannot control everything. In that darkness, there is a surrendering to life. We pray for anything or anyone, and we come to realize that there is so much beyond our control. You may find yourself in such a place where you feel you are in that dark, and you are looking to the outside to shine some light on you or to tell you that you are beautiful, deserve better, or pure love inside. And I just took that little excerpt because I don't want to read all of it, because I definitely want everybody to grab the book, but that helped me.
I can see that.
It was, well, for me, reading that, some people take things and they turn them into affirmations, which that's fine if you do that. Some people take stuff like this and then they make a parable. And I'm one of the parable people. It's a lesson that I get from this. So I had to not be that hardened person that I normally am, because certain things I just desensitize myself and just help everybody around me. But I really took time with this, and I you can't put a measurement on grieving, but that excerpt right there helped me through that struggle.
Oh, so happy to hear that.
So
I'm really happy to hear that. Yeah. So you kind of surrendered into something and allowed, basically, right? You allowed whatever life occurred. You allowed your pain. You allowed everything to be for a moment, I guess, right? And
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and maybe I guess saw a little bit of your, as dark as it seems, there's always a little something that brewed inside you, I guess, that brought you back. So
yes. So
it's nice.
So one thing that I want to do, I want you to differentiate something for me. Force and power in your book. And why is this distinction crucial? Because people need to understand that in your book, you differentiate force and power.
Yeah.
So why is that distinction crucial for the readers?
So when I started writing the book, I really thought I'm writing about, how to be okay, or maybe some self-help concepts, or I really didn't know what I was writing. I was just trying to organize my own self. And then slowly but surely, I realized actually it's a book about power, but not the type that we see in the news and all kinds of things like that. There's a famous quote from the book, Power versus Force. So maybe, some of the ideas probably come from there, but power is not what we're seeing in the world, in the politics and all that stuff. That is called force. Okay, power is something completely different because it's innate. It's not something that we need to get and push and do that kind of think with. It's something that's actually inside all of us, that's there, just like the sun, right? The sun has innate power in it. And so when we use the word power, it's not in the same way that people are using it, but we are absolutely incredibly powerful in this type of word because, we can make choices all the time. I mean, that's an absolute superpower, right? We could have compassion for ourselves and be well almost in any circumstance. Like there's a lot of things that I would call power. We can impact each other through our hearts. So there's a lot of things I would call power. We could set boundaries. We could do many things that are not force that I think are definitely going, more powerful than force, actually. Like it's going to be definitely what will prevail because it's innate. It doesn't need any like food or effort. It's like an effortless existence when you're living in your power. And a lot of people might not even realize they kind of have it or where is it. And and the simple example that I gave you earlier, like, for example, like, what if I decide JR and Stacy, let's say you two people in the world, you're going to decide, what I should dress, how I look, and to approve of me or not, reject me or not. I've literally, so I'm not even saying it like theoretically, but I've literally given you two the power to control my life, right? I've
Yes.
given it to you. You get to approve of me. You get to decide what's good and bad, or, all of these things. So that would be literally giving it to you versus taking it, and keeping it. So people use the words, but do you actually feel it that, yes, that is my power, my decision of these kind of things. So we can definitely find our power slowly but surely, especially after learning to set boundaries, which takes incredible courage and is very, very difficult to do.
Okay. And the thing in that, hold on that right there is starting that off, you got to cultivate confidence.
Yeah.
So what I would like to ask you is this. So when, like what advice would you give an individual that's trying to cultivate the confidence to do that? And then also as you're doing that and you're telling people about it, because some people think that when people are telling them about their processes and their problems, that they're coming off as arrogant. What advice do you have for individuals to try to tell them to cultivate the confidence without coming off as arrogant?
So I don't know, maybe we could do a quick example. So why don't you, are you comfortable to just share something about your life and let's see how I can, I don't know, maybe it lead to an actual example of how to be confident. Right. So maybe anything going on that you're comfortable to share.
Yeah. So I'll say this. So I surround myself with lots of people because of my job. And I feel that I'm an authority in certain areas. And when it's something that I'm not authority, so I'll give you an example. We'll just use a materialistic item. There's these projectors called nebula projectors. I am a projector enthusiast. So no one can break my stride on what goes on with those. But if you were to ask me to cook a Mediterranean dish, this is a good example. This will go here. I don't have the know-how unless I read about it to do it.
That's fine.
But it doesn't mean I have the confidence to actually go out and get that olive oil and get everything started. So in that instance, my emotions, my fear, my insecurity of doing well stop me from having the confidence to do it. But if I do it, here's the caveat to that, I guess, or not caveat. We'll just say this. If I do it and I don't do well, I may tell someone about it, but I may come off a little rough with it. Like maybe I'm telling you that I made this balsamic salmon or something, and I don't think it's the best, but I'm telling you, hey, I did this. It tasted fairly decent, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes the connotation that comes from that, like the tone, the way my face looks, the eyebrows moving, I may be putting on airs to certain people, if that works.
Okay. So, I mean, so do you feel like you're arrogant, or you're worried that other people think you're arrogant? Or?
Well, I'll say this. When I give knowledge to people about anything, I sometimes feel like when I'm in a room with people that sometimes I do come off as kind of arrogant because I go research things. I like if you told, like when I read your book, I'm not saying that I'm a master of this book, but I think that I have a good cardinal knowledge to run with.
Yeah, I hear you with that. So, okay. So confidence is a big topic, and I don't know. So the first example you were giving about cooking or whatever. So a lot of people will be afraid to do that new activity or whatever else, because again, they're always measuring themselves in that point system. And you're thinking, I'm a better person or a more successful person if I can do cooking and I can't make mistakes, or I lose a point, or I'm stupid, or, you're in that point system. So for me, when you don't belong in that point system, you're not doing it for anything. You're just doing it because you want to try the cooking, and all mistakes are allowed, and everything you can do well or not well. It doesn't affect, again, this, inner goodness thing. So I wanted to just say that about what you mentioned. But
Okay.
in terms of the arrogance thing, so this is what I've learned about it. If you're curious, there's a few different types of listening that are very, very important. And I wonder if you're going to see yourself in that. So would you share a little problem that you're having in life, if it's okay, something, a concern, or you know what, maybe even this one. Okay. So you actually just shared that you come across, this is perfect. Okay. So you just shared that sometimes you're thinking I wonder if I'm coming across as arrogant, right? When I'm talking about my things that I really feel good about. Am I arrogant? Am I not arrogant? Right? So now I'm going to show you what we do in the circle. I always do a demo before we get to our topic, because we talk about topics every week.
Okay.
I do a quick demo of listening, and this is super important. There's usually 3 types of listening that we experience, right? So the first type of listening, you just shared something. If we imagine ourselves as a human mirror, right? Reflecting the truth, because what you said is true, right? What you said about, I feel like, I wonder if I'm arrogant, all that, that's just that's truth. It's pure truth. It's your experience, right? So the first type of listening that we often get, if we imagine a human mirror, the person literally puts the mirror down as if what you said doesn't even exist. So that might be something oh, really, JR? I mean, I feel fine when I talk confidently about my things, and I'm okay with that. So I just totally missed what you said, right? So I'm somewhere else kind of in the world.
Right.
And this kind of listening is very prevalent. Me and you, maybe we laugh about it, but it's actually really serious. So whether it's dismissiveness, gaslighting, all that stuff, it's super serious and really can affect us over time if these are a relationship, because we're not reflecting the truth being what you said, right? And so this is not listening. This is totally unhealthy stuff. The second type of listening, which is also the most prevalent maybe type of listening in our world, is that I kind of see what you said. Again, if I imagine myself as a human mirror, but I put it down really fast because I want to go fix you. I don't like what you're thinking. I don't like what you're feeling. I think I'm smarter than you. I want to give you advice because I think I know better than you. I want to be superior to you, whatever. So that one might sound like, JR, you're thinking you're feeling arrogant when you know what? I have this great YouTube. The best thing you could do, just start watching this YouTube every day. It's going to give you the confidence and you're going to feel fine. And you're not going to think about this thing anymore. Don't be insecure about being arrogant. It's really not good to be insecure about that. Right? Totally, again, I'm
right.
telling you what to do, trying to fix your feelings. And the underlying message there is something is wrong with you. And something is wrong with what you're feeling. And something is wrong with what you're thinking about. It's not healthy listening. And these two are the most typical types of listening that we kind of experience in our world, unfortunately. And they don't allow us to grow and learn and whatever, the same way the third type, which really allows for connection and openness and all these things. And that one would sound like, well, JR, you sound like you're kind of a little bit curious about, when are you sounding confident and when are you sounding arrogant? And you're trying to see, if I'm competent in something and I talk confidently about that, is that arrogant or is that confident? So you're just kind of really inquiring about this idea and trying to see, am I truly arrogant or not? Or am I just confident in it? Sounds like you're just kind of curious about this topic. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the truth, because that's what you said, right? That's the truth. That's what you're currently experiencing. You're experiencing curiosity about, which one is it? And so if I, validate what you're experiencing, and I don't have a problem with it, you can feel that. It doesn't bother me that you're having this feeling, nor if you feel sad, nor if you feel angry, nor if you feel frustrated. You're having a feeling, you're having an experience. It's fine with me. And so if I'm okay with your experience and I don't try to fix it, I don't try to tell you what to do, I don't try to anything, and just allow it for a moment, then you're going to relax. And so am I, because it's fine that it exists in our world. There's nothing wrong with it. And it's just like, oh, really? You're wondering about that? And maybe you'll say, yeah, I am, because, this person was saying that. So what do you think? And we would now have an open, connected, honest conversation because we're talking about the truth, which is what you're currently experiencing, without criticizing it, judging it, fixing it, demeaning it, anything. So this listening is like a super, super important part of our circles, where we're listening to what each person is, whatever, without all the other yucky stuff that I told you about. So back to your projectors, right? What I have learned, which took me a long time, is to really try to move away from, fixing anyone, controlling anyone, advising anyone, and just, being myself. So that probably over time, and it took me a long time, I'm like 53 now, but I would myself now make the attempt, say like, the projector information that I know is that this would be the best one for this lighting, but do what you like.
Okay, I like that.
Something like it's your choice, and not to try to control other people. It's very difficult to learn not to control other people, that it is their choice. You still stand with what you're saying. Like you hold your ground on your view. My view is that, and that's it. That's what I think.
And what I get from this is open narrative, but no persuasion. It's no reason.
No force.
Yeah, no force. So you don't have to throw that heavy persuasion in there, in my opinion. So
yeah, because why do you want to? Like, why would you want to force the other person to have that view? That's their business.
Right. And that's what I like about your book. So inside your book, when you're emerging from challenging emotional situations, you talk about being strong and soft at the same time.
Yeah.
How can one achieve this delicate balance? Because a lot of the stuff, it deals with in your book, a certain type of balance, a certain type of self reflection that you should do. Yeah. That a lot of people do not do. And that's what I really loved about this great book right here.
Oh, you're so cute, JR, to keep doing that. I didn't ask you to at all. I appreciate it, though.
Yeah. Because the thing is like some people, like you said, people treat life like a convenience store. They go through, and like you were saying earlier, they give you a quick validation that sometimes doesn't have any merit to the situation. And some people think that it has merit to the situation. They funnel advice, and like you said, passive hearing, as some people say. Yeah. And that does cause a lot of turmoil. It
does. It's a major thing. Yeah.
That we have in the world today.
I do think that's one of the major things. So learning to self-validate sometimes is crucial, especially if you don't have one single human being around you who knows how to listen. Yeah. Okay. It can be really hard. Okay. Yeah. So soft and strong. Sorry, getting back to what you're asking.
The delicate balance.
Well, for me, I was doing a lot of meditation and a lot of, body stuff, so that we get out of the head and we get into our bodies more. And what I found, again, it's more like what you find. It's not like a theory. It's actually what you start to experience over time, is that we have, I believe, all of us, a very soft part, which is our heart, right? It might be, maybe you're not accessing it too much. You're all in your head. That's why meditation and heart openers and Heart Math Institute, heart coherence, all these things, we have the ability to be very, very soft and kind first to ourselves. Forget being kind to anybody in the world. If you don't know how to be kind to yourself, you're not really kind to anyone else. So really, really, really learning to be kind to yourself without criticizing, not being harsh, not being critical, not putting yourself down, all these things. So that's our front, and some people call that our feminine energy, but they're not talking about gender. We're just using it as, historically people have used this word. So our feminine is our soft, and that's our heart. And then our back and our spine can be seen as our masculine energy. Again, nothing to do with genders, but kind of our strong part. So we can have like an inner harmony of, I'm very soft, but I'm also very, very strong. Like I have very strict boundaries, actually, for example, right? So I'm not, and I know how to hold my ground when I need to, and I know how to be alone, and I know how to support myself. My spine is actually a way to support myself. So there's times, that voice might sound like, okay, Sandy, I know it's hard. You got this. I'm here, like that kind of voice. So I guess physically speaking, I would say it's your front is your soft with your heart, and the back is the strong, solid, supportive side. That we all have these energies internally. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I like that. Now, can you elaborate on this for me? The significance of authenticity in finding personal power and peace, as mentioned in your book, because that is one of the strong themes to me inside this book.
Yeah.
And sometimes people like I was talking about my situation, they not everybody can get to that inner warrior strength right then and there. So could you help us out there?
Yeah, and that's fine. Everybody has their different path and their different time for different things. But at the end of the day, for me, what I started to really focus on is to take responsibility, first of all, for myself, and to see how do I live in peace in myself. So forget the word. I don't like to use the word happy so much anymore. So forget being happy. Like, how can you be at ease? How could you be at peace with yourself every single day, right?
Yeah.
Just be at ease, like with the situation, and it can happen, in a million zillion ways. But I'll give you one quick story. At one point, I was at a gathering of different people, including family members, and somebody was talking to me in a way that I found completely not okay. And I wasn't really good at setting boundaries yet at all. It was actually super, super hard to do that. And I did it. I actually said, no, you can't, stop screaming and talking to me that way, or whatever I had said. And it kind of ruined the whole event for everyone. It made it all into a big drama. And what I realized though after, so I left, I was crying, I called my friend, and it was a whole thing. But then what I realized inside was, oh, but actually I feel that was okay to do. Like, I feel at peace inside. So I'm feeling inner peace, even though there's outer conflict, versus having inner conflict and keeping the peace outside, right? So I'm going to make everybody happy, but inside I'm like, not okay. So I really started to realize that I need to live my life maintaining my inner peace, whether that is to set boundaries or to do certain things or to ask for space or to do this podcast. This is part of maintaining my peace, actually, because I feel like I need to speak about these topics. Otherwise, I'm not at peace. That's why I do them, for my peace, actually, because it's my job to keep my peace. It's not anybody else's job to keep my peace. It's my job to maintain my peace. So that's another big one, not to blame other people for your misery or your hurt or your pain, even if they've done, very terrible actions or not done terrible actions. At the end of the day, it's up to you to figure out how to deal with the pain, get some help, learn to process it, learn maybe to forgive, learn to deal with it. Like, there's a million things we can do to get back to our own peace, no matter what somebody else may have done or not done. It's still our responsibility as adults to do that. Yeah.
Okay, and I like that. Now we're going on to a portion of the show where I pay homage to a famous news magazine, a television show called 2020.
Okay.
This show had John Stossel on there for comic relief, which we don't need that right now because we had some comic relief earlier. Diane Sawyer, who was very poignant with her interviews, and then the late great Barbara Walters.
Yeah,
she could put you in a mood where it's a 10:59, and sometimes the news network would let her carry over to 11:05, and it would be something really strong. Or she can end it right at 11 o'clock and leave you questioning, wondering, and just she could just, if she wrote it or whoever wrote it for her, they put her in a different arena from other people that were interviewing people. So, Sandy, it's time for your 2020 questions. Are you ready?
Okay. Sure.
All right. Now, this first question is derived from one thing that you have. You said that you don't like to have titles, but you do have the title of being an author.
Yeah.
So I always like to take something from our old show's Author Circle and bring in an author question to help aspiring authors and people that don't have the fortitude to write a book.
Okay.
So here's your first question. In writing this book is 265 pages, correct?
Mm-hmm. I don't remember the number.
It's like 267 with the extra stuff at the end.
Okay.
All right. Where was the hardship in writing this?
None.
None?
For me, I wasn't really writing a book. Like I said, I was trying to organize information to feel well myself. So I was literally like, having different departments, sections. And every time I would learn something about a topic, I would just write it down in that topic and, organize it in that topic. And so I was just organizing information for myself in organized topics, I guess. And then, was there something hard about it? No, it felt like I should do it and put it together. I was just kind of following myself, and that's really what I try to encourage everyone else to do. Don't follow me, like follow you. And so if you feel compelled to do something, like I felt compelled to do this book, there's no other explanation than I felt I should do it. And so now you're following yourself. So there's an inner motivation. So I'm not trying to do it to get somebody's approval. I'm just doing it because I feel I should do it. So when you get in touch with yourself, start listening to yourself instead of listening to everyone else and following what you feel you should do. I think things just get, you're functioning naturally, just like you, I guess, JR. It sounds like you follow, you feel like you should do this work because it's whatever. And so it's not really an effort. It's like something you just have to do, right? So
Right.
there's an effortless about the work, right? Like it's work, but at the same time, it's just, it's my nature almost, right? Like there's something in your nature that's calling you to do that and something in mine that's calling me to do that. And I think everybody has this if they, slowly but surely get to know themselves deeply and start to trust themselves and what their inclinations are and what their path is and their feelings and all that. So it's a process to start to trust yourself.
I like that. Now, here's a question that's going to get very personable. You said something that is a major theme across this whole book, self-validation.
Yeah.
So self-validation, we could spin it around. We could do a whole podcast about that more than likely.
Mm-hmm.
But in your opinion, when you built that courage up, because we talked about that earlier, you got that confidence. How do you give yourself self-validation without like criticism of yourself? Like, how do you validate yourself? I'm talking about you personally. How do you validate yourself and not fall into that method of, I'm going to criticize myself, but I want to give myself self-validation? So an example for me, I was telling you about making that food. I did say that the food wasn't that great, but I gave myself the self-validation that I could walk up to someone else and say that food's good. So how do you fix that?
Well, I mean, I guess, in the circle, we just start talking about what it means to be kind. And normally we were taught to be kind or nice, I guess, to other people all the time. And we really didn't learn to be nice to ourselves. Like we weren't in the equation. We were always like, be nice to your grandma, be nice to this, be nice to that one. Oh, you're a good person if you're nice to here. If you're a good person, if you do nice things there. But whoever taught you that you must absolutely be kind to yourself? No, we didn't. We didn't learn that. We got the opposite message often from the world, from caregivers, from teachers, criticism, 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 which eventually went into our brains. And now our brains are talking to us. So I see us in our heart, not in our head. But the thoughts came in, and now the thoughts are going down towards us. And then slowly but surely, when you start to feel for yourself, when you start to have compassion for yourself, like, this has been really hard and it's been hard for me. Like my life has been hard and I feel for myself. Slowly but surely, if you start to care about yourself, you don't want to suffer. And if you don't want to suffer and you realize that you are causing your own suffering, a lot of the times we're causing our own suffering. And one of those ways is this critical self-talk. So instead we could, realize I don't really even need to cook an amazing meal. I don't need to be good at cooking. I don't need to do anything. I'm good. My heart is good. It's not good enough. It's absolutely 100% good. I made mistakes. Yes, I did this, I did that, I didn't whatever, but I'm just good deeply inside. So then if you already realize that that's true. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm saying, like, for me, I just know it's true because I looked at my whole life, why I did what's happened. I understand myself. And so when you find that, then if you do want to try this cooking, you're just trying to cook something. That's it. And actually, you can feel super proud of yourself depending on your life history. And that's another one that we need to learn to validate our own sense of feeling proud of ourselves for whatever. And one of the circles we did actually was, what do you feel proud about? Not what somebody tells you from the outside that you should feel proud because you got this degree. You should feel proud because you won this race. Maybe you feel proud of yourself because you tried to cook and you were scared of cooking. Or maybe you feel proud of yourself because you got out of bed and you've been depressed for 3 years and you managed to get out of bed and take a shower. And that's why you feel proud. Or maybe you feel proud because you set a boundary and it was so hard to do. So again, not allowing other people to dictate what we feel proud about. So back to your cooking, maybe you feel like, I'm proud of myself. I kind of like went and tried to do this Mediterranean thing that I have no clue about. And I kind of managed to do something edible. I kind of feel good about myself. What's wrong with that?
Right. Nothing wrong with that at all.
No. Right. Instead of measuring. Yeah, that's kind.
So I want to thank you there for that. So you got through the 2020 questions. So we come to the end of our show. And Sandy, one thing I'd like you to do for me is I'd like you to tell the audience, because everybody has people behind them. If they don't have people behind them, they have an object. Like I had one person on my show that had a lucky pet rock from the 80s.
Okay.
And they still have it. But that is the mojo, the means and mode for them to do what they do for the world and to take care of, what they're doing in the world. So could you give a special thank you to a person or an object that has helped you along the way?
Yeah, I can definitely thank my grandmother who had loving eyes, and they're not often to see in our world. And her loving eyes really were towards everybody, and every single person that interacted with her, I think, thought they were the favorite. So including me, everybody felt they were the favorite. So she was a very, very special human being who was just loving, and having had the opportunity to look into those eyes many, 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 many times, I think was probably my biggest influence.
Okay, and I thank you for that. Now, part of the show that I love, and this is starting to become nostalgic, it's a little testimony I give after I've heard a little bit about you and go a little bit further one. So, Sandy Stream, I use words like fortitude and different stuff like that, but I'm not going to do that. You, with this book, The Courage Circle, you are courageous. You are doing something that a lot of people wouldn't do. You're taking time to take care of yourself while taking care of other people instead of taking care of people and not worrying about yourself.
Yeah.
So many people do that selfless act, and I always have to ask them the question of, how do you promote your self-care? I don't even have to ask you that question. So that right there is a godsend there. So when you put a mirror in front of you, or the self-mirror, as you spoke of earlier, I can see someone that is in love with themselves, someone that self-actuates, someone that self-realization, someone that takes the time to understand the true self. So I want to give you a pat on the back for that. I want you to, throw your hands up in there and be real strong, because there's no one like you, just like there's no one like me. But in this instance,
that's right. There's no one like anyone.
Right. But in this instance, the aura, the power, the mojo, the aura, I want to say aura one more time, the magical portions of you, providing them to the world and not keeping them private. That is an amazing thing. That is a feat that even I don't do. People get glimmers of stuff, but they don't get the full 100% JR Sparrow razzle dazzle. And they get that from you.
Oh, thanks, Jared. It was actually super hard for me to do. It took me like major courage to start doing podcasts. Like I was terrified. Totally terrified. So yes, that actually did take me courage to start doing. Now I'm feeling relaxed about them, but it was really hard.
Okay, so I want to tell the audience, definitely get involved. Get this book over wherever you can find it. And then there's the other cool thing that you can do with books. Buy this book and then go to your public library. Request this book. People fail to realize that your local library system orders books all the time, but they never order what you want. So why not have a great book, Sandy Stream's The Courage Circle, buy it and then get it put in your library so someone else can have that treasure. And so it's immortalized in rural libraries, big libraries all across the world. You can do this and still help the author out. But at the same time, that book will be enshrined in the library safe so that it is a record in history beyond someone just buying it. So please, I encourage the audience to do that. And everything about Sandy's stream will be in our show notes. And I think the people on YouTube, and then after we're finished with this part of the interview, we go to the next part of the interview. And the next part of the interview is something exclusively only for Sandy. So I need everybody to tune over to TikTok to get the next part of the interview. So on that note, I'm JR and you are?
Sandy.
So we are signing off from YouTube. If I can stop the recording. There we go.
Please follow WV Uncommonplace on Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, TikTok, where we have some great content, Facebook, LinkedIn. Hit up the merch store at onecommonplace.square.site. Join the email list from the website and rate, subscribe, and give feedback from your favorite podcatcher. And lastly, thanks for listening and tune into the next episode.